This is John Rappoport here in the fourth hour on InfoWars. Well, greetings, everybody. You know, I've been on a lot of shows for a long time. Been a reporter now for 34 years. Never been on a show before where the commercials are the show. But that's where I'm sitting right now because of what happened to InfoWars. Because this company, AdRoll, decided that they didn't want to sell ads anymore or place ads anymore for InfoWars. I mean, that's like a company saying, well, you know, we're a company and we do business, but we don't want to do business. We don't want to make any money. Really? Is that a business model that I've missed somewhere? Yes, we're in business and we make money, but, you know, InfoWars made $3.3 million last year for InfoWars and for the cause for which they stand, based on this company, AdRoll, placing ads for InfoWars products all over media. And suddenly AdRoll says, well, we don't want that anymore. We're going to drop you. And of course, as most of you have heard by now, if you try to penetrate the language, their explanation of why they're suddenly dropping InfoWars, I don't know, it's like reading something from a demented raccoon somewhere out in the woods. I mean, can you even begin to understand it? Focus on the merits of this and sensitive potentially that and political this and verifying, you know, it's just 6-week-old oatmeal. It doesn't make any sense. It's basically saying, look, we're dropping you because of political pressure, because we're liberals and we don't want to be associated with this point of view, so we're not going to make money. Forget the money. We're not interested. Not interested at all. Wow. That's a new way to do business. I guess it's the sort of socialist way of doing business, where the government basically runs things and says to businesses, well, we own you, and so you're going to do what we want you to do. You'll produce what we want you to produce, sell it to whom we allow you to sell it at the price we tell you to sell it at, and we're sure you'll be happy. Everything's going to be fine because we're the government, and it'll all be wonderful. And of course, we're going to have to tax the pants off of people in order for all these programs to move forward, but who cares? Freebies, free services under socialism, united with no liberty and no justice for anybody. So, therefore, that's why the commercials, the InfoWars commercials, are the show. Because the obvious strategy is, since you can get very fine products at InfoWars and help to fund the InfoWars operation, which is basically all about freedom, if you get down to the bottom line, then when I say Super Male Vitality 25% off in the InfoWars store, I'm not just doing a commercial, I'm doing the show, because that's what the show is about, because of all of this lost revenue and a company that decided they didn't want to make money because it was more important to hew to a globalist political agenda. So let me say it again then, Super Male Vitality 25% off. InfoWars. Life.com, InfoWarsStore.com. Brain Force Plus. That's another piece of news on the show, because that's what the show is. It's about the commercials that were taken away from InfoWars by this company that supposedly is doing business, but they're not really doing business, I guess. Brain Force plus 25% off. Was 39.95, now 29.95. Infowarslife.com, infowarsstore.com. Never been on a show before where the ads are the show. But that's the way it is, folks, because we live in an upside down world, a completely upside down world. For example, why doesn't this company ad roll? It's just strange when it comes off the tongue. I see myself walking into some kind of a shop in the morning where they have coffee, and I say, "Give me an ad roll, cream cheese." Anyway, if this company is so concerned about doing the right thing, I have a question. Do they ever put pharmaceutical ads anywhere? Is that part of their business? I know it's part of other companies' business that do that. So I would refer you to July 26, 2000, Journal of the American Medical Association, Dr. Barbara Starfield, revered public health expert at Johns Hopkins, Journal of the American Medical Association, everybody's mainstream credentials, meticulous up and down the line. Starfield concludes every year in the U.S., FDA approved pharmaceuticals kill 106,000 people. That's a million killings per decade from FDA approved pharmaceutical drugs. So, wouldn't you expect that a company that is fronting for pharmaceutical companies and putting their ads all over media would be very meticulous in examining what drugs these are and what harm they do to people? And we would see statements verifying that, you know, this has been researched down to the ground because, after all, we, the company who is promoting these ads and placing them everywhere on media, we don't want to be part and parcel and party to killing people. No, 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 no. But we don't see statements like that. Ah, sure, we'll take the pharmaceutical ads, of course. What's the name of this drug again? Zakazupa, Ziki, lots of X's and Y's and Z's in these drugs. Have you noticed? Exolotl, blottle, zottle. Yeah, this will cure everything if it doesn't kill you first. Is anybody really doing the research on this that's running the ads or placing the ads? Are you kidding? Because if they did, look what they would find. So let me return to the main news. BioPCA, another InfoWars product at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. Was $39.95, now $19.95. BioPCA. That's another piece of news on this show because the ads are the news, because InfoWars just got canceled out of their deal with a major company that was placing ads for these products all over media and then said, we're finished, done, we're not going to do that anymore. See, this is what you would get. I mean, come on, grasp this. This is like the government saying, you can't sell this, or you can't advertise this, or you can't say this. You can't talk about this. You can only talk about that. This is right next door to that, because companies and big corporations are married to the government, and the government is married to them. And whatever the agenda is, that determines how the business runs. That determines how the business runs. So apparently there's no problem with selling pharmaceuticals that kill 106,000 people a year or a million people per decade. That's easy. Anybody can do that. Nobody's going to interfere with that. Protests, riots, never heard of it. Not a problem. But selling really good, really fine nutritional products that in turn support the agenda of InfoWars, the news, the issue of freedom, which is basic to every human on earth. Can't do that. Absolutely cannot do that. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Cannot do that. Cannot do that. So I'm going to tell you a little story that happened to me recently. Probably won't get through it before we go to the break here, but roughly a week ago, I get a phone call out of the blue, and I mean out of the blue, from the Washington Post, a reporter at the Washington Post. So I say to this reporter, who shall remain nameless simply because I don't want to give him any pub here, how did you get my phone number? It's not listed. And he said, well, I have access to various databases. Oh, really? Great. Okay. So he said, well, I want to ask you about a comment that Donald Trump made recently in a speech that he gave. I said, is that right? He said, yeah. He said something to the effect that Hillary gave 20% of U.S. uranium to Russia. This is what Trump said. And I want to get your comment on this. Stay tuned for the rest of the story. Be right back. John Rappoport here in the fourth hour on InfoWars. So, as I said at the top here, the ads are the show because the company, AdRoll, has decided to drop making money for some reason, and they're not going to put InfoWars ads for these products everywhere like they were doing because, they have a political agenda. That seems quite obvious to me personally. So I will be mentioning these products on and off. And I wanted to finish a story here. So I was saying before the break that a reporter for the Washington Post calls me up out of nowhere. Never talked to the guy before. Don't know how he got my number, which is unlisted. But anyway, he said, so Trump says in a recent speech that Hillary gave 20% of uranium, U.S. uranium, to Putin and Russia. And I wanted to get your comment on that because of, and then he sort of indicates that I am InfoWars, you see. And I say, well, hold on. I don't work for InfoWars. I'm not an employee of InfoWars. He said, yes, I know. Ha, ha, ha. And he kind of chuckles again. So at this point, I think he knows, and I know, and he knows that I know, and I know that he knows that I know, that if he's going to write anything about this, it's not going to be good, right? It's not going to be good. It's somehow going to say that the thing that Trump said was not really true about Hillary and the uranium, and that I said it was, and I'm associated with InfoWars or something, a hodgepodge, right? And he says, well, if you want me to email you the question, then you can. I said, yeah, that'll be better because then I'll be able to give you my exact answer. So he emails me, and in return, I send him a link to the New York Times article of 2015, which spells the whole thing out about Putin, uranium, the Clinton Foundation, the Clintons, the State Department, Hillary, all, a very good circumstantial case for the fact that Hillary was involved in the selling of 20% of U.S. uranium to Russia, which would indicate that she would be closer to Russia, by any stretch of the imagination than all the fake news about Trump having some connections to Russia, right? So I sent him the link. I figured that's enough. And he writes me back and he says, yes, I read that article many times. I'm thinking, you mean it takes more than once to figure out what the circumstantial case is here? A good circumstantial case? Many times. Very profound. And I just decided, okay, that's it. I have no more to say. He wanted a comment. Why should I add to what could very well have been yet one more, you know, of those things that happen. One more of those things where the mainstream decides we know what's going on, and these independent media people are just causing a lot of trouble because they're digging up things that we would rather, put into the proper perspective because we have the authority and the gravitas and the experience to understand these things, and they don't. They don't. So I would say to this reporter, you want to write a real story? Like a real story that isn't just, sort of creepy? 106,000 deaths every year in the U.S. from FDA-approved pharmaceuticals. Or extrapolating, and I've gone over this math many times, 1 million deaths per decade from FDA-approved pharmaceutical drugs. And the federal government is doing nothing systematic to fix it. And advertising agencies and so forth don't care. They'll just run any drug ads from any old pharmaceutical company. You want a real article, Washington Post, that's not fake? Write that. July 26, 2000, Journal American Medical Association, Dr. Barbara Starfield, and the review was called, Is U.S. Health Really the Best in the World? Got it? Don't even have to credit me as a source. Just passing along some information to the Washington Post as a citizen doing his service. Go for it. Go for it. Write that article. Then you can sleep well at night knowing that you've done a good thing. No, none of this. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.